All right, everyone. Welcome to another edition of Q&A with Alan and Marshall. I'm Marshall Atkinson.
I'm Alan Howe with Easy Way.
And welcome to our show. And you know, it was so exciting, Alan, to see that before we even launched the show, Cindy King signed in to say hello.
You gotta love it. These are called super fans, rabid fans. So
Yeah,
Cindy, thank you very much.
Yeah,
we noticed that, and very much appreciated. She's watching always on YouTube, which is cool.
And if you're watching, please do us a favor and sign in and say hello also, and also include where you're watching from. That's always fun.
Absolutely.
And we like to kind of keep track of that, you know, and don't forget, as always, this is a share, but this is a Q&A show, and we really need your comments, your thoughts, your questions. And of course, we have some topics queued up, but that doesn't mean that's the only thing that we want to talk about. Yep. If you're struggling with something, or you're working on something, or something's bothering you, let's get it out there and let's talk about it, right? So that's what's really important. We're here to serve you. You're, you know, even though this is a free thing, you're our customer. So we want to make sure that you're happy. So make sure that you guys share what's going on. So let's say hey to some folks real quick. So Cindy, of course, hey. Charles is here. Good to see you, buddy.
Charles from New Mexico.
And Chris is here. Good morning.
From Canada.
Working and watching, Cindy says.
Always.
Yeah, and Frank's here from Houston, right?
Yep.
And your buddy Shane's here, and you said you had a big hour conversation with that guy.
Yeah, it was. It was a couple of days ago in the evening. Shane and I have known each other. We were going back. I've known each other since, probably 2006, 2007. And he messaged me and needed to talk. I said, now's fine. It was nighttime. And it was good to catch up and just hear about what's going on in his shop and just bouncing ideas off. So,
and New Bedford, is that like around Boston?
Well, I only know Boston, so I'm going to say yes. Around Boston.
It's like you can get to Boston from there.
I think New Bedford. I'm not sure where it's at.
Yeah.
So.
And Pete says we're exhibiting at ASI Orlando.
Great. All right, way to go, Pete. Thanks for tuning in.
Yeah, great.
From Same Day Cheese in Chicago.
That's right. Yeah, it's good to see you.
Yeah.
So anyway, so get signed in and don't forget to share. And Alan mentioned it a minute ago, but sharing allows us to grow our viewers. And also, if you're watching this as a recording, because I know a lot of people do that, drop a note or a comment that you watched it as a recording. I think that's always good to see also.
Absolutely.
So Shane says they're 45 minutes south of Boston.
All right, cool. So closer to Rhode Island.
Right. And Richard's here. Good to see you, man. And Ray's here. So
Greenwood. Yep.
Good to see you also. Right. So lots going on. And we have a huge, really interesting show to talk about today. But before that, we need to pay some bills, and we need to run the GSG commercial. And we're so thankful for them for sponsoring our show. We really appreciate them. And
absolutely.
Here's a word from our sponsor.
GSG, the combination of over half a century of knowledge with industry-leading technology and the customer at the center of everything that we do. Graphic Solutions Group is a powerhouse distributor of traditional screen, sign, wide format digital printing, embroidery, and textile decorating. We are committed to our customers, providing support, educational, and consulting services. Your success is our success. We've seen these industries grow and change in our 70 years. One thing never changes. GSG's dedication providing the best products and services available. We've been around, we'll be around, from the highs and the lows, standing right here with you. GSG, the right products, right away.
And Cindy says that she loves GSG in all caps with 150 exclamation points. So thanks, Cindy. That's just great.
Absolutely.
And Shane says, thanks again for taking time to talk with him. He appreciates that.
No problem.
John McGee's here. Guess we'll be seeing GSG up here in Colorado. Yeah,
absolutely. We talked about that last week, John, after it was announced. If you guys didn't hear, Graphic Solutions expanding again. They bought, and I think it's Montroy Sign in Denver. Right. And I think February 1, at the end of January, it shuts down and becomes the whole GSG thing. And it's going to be, from what I understand, it's going to be sign and screen and everything. So, man, what a great move for the Denver market. That market has really grown over the years, and some great printers up there.
Yeah, there are, right? And Peter's here for M&R, and evidently he's a Kansas City Chiefs fan.
I never knew that. I don't even know who Marshall likes in football.
Yeah. And here, another one is FSP here in Missouri, stretching it tight and right. Thanks for helping get the accurate information to our community. Well,
hey, no problem. Thanks. That's I think that's Aaron Buchanan, I think.
Yeah. And then Peter says, wherever Whataburger goes, GSG follows.
Exactly. It's exactly it.
That's great. That's an astute observation there, Peter.
Must have a Whataburger. Is there one in Cincinnati? I think there is.
I don't know. I don't know.
There's in Kentucky.
Who's here from Cincinnati? Chime in. Is there a Whataburger in your city?
Yeah. Well, it's funny because Metro Cincinnati circles and it hits, that part of Ohio, Indiana, and Kentucky.
Yeah. Right.
So I believe there's one in Kentucky in that circle.
Yeah. All right. You ready to get going with the show?
Let's go.
Well, here's our first topic, which is the brand new 2022 Apparel Decorator Survey that came out in Screenprinting magazine. So earlier, for a couple months, they were running the survey, and they had a whole bunch of people take it. And Johnny Shell, who used to be with SGIA and Printing United, actually ran this for them. And this came out 2 days ago, and we thought it would be fun to kind of go through not all of the things, but just a couple of the stuff. And we want your feedback. So if you haven't seen this, go to Screenprinting magazine, and I'm going to show it here real quick. If I can click on the right button. So here we go. So here it is. And they lead off with just demographics, and I don't know if you can see this on your computer screen. And if you're watching from your phone, I'm sure this is really tiny. But this is a color chart, right? And then here's what's really interesting is the yellow, which is, the top right, is 19% of the industry is under $100,000 in sales. 42%, which is the orange, is 100 grand to just under $1 million in sales. So you add those together, and that's 60% of the industry for shops has under $1 million in sales.
Absolutely.
Okay, so my question immediately goes to, are you in the 60%? Are you in the top 40%? Right. So if you're watching right now, it might be interesting just to say, I'm in the top 40 or I'm in the bottom 60. Just where do you lie in that? Right.
Yep.
But I found it also kind of interesting. Okay. See the purple right there? That's 10%. Okay. The purple was 5 million to, the red is 1 million to 4.9 million.
Yep.
Okay, the red, which is about, what was 3 o'clock, right? And then right next to it is 5 million to just under 10 million was 10%. So 10% of our industry has sales between $5 and $10 million.
Yep, absolutely.
Okay, and that feels accurate to me, even though the survey, of course, is only limited to the people who took the survey, right?
Right.
But it feels right that 10% is about 5 to 10 million. What do you think about that, Alan?
Yeah, I agree. We were looking this over and talking about it, and we all know surveys and polls are about the slice of the people that engage
Took
in
the
it.
survey.
But yeah, who took the survey? But these numbers seem right to me. They feel right to what I see in the field and everything. I'm very excited about the red mark of the 1 to 4.9 million. That is an exciting thing for me, where it's 23%.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's, I would love to know how many people are in the 42%, but are closer and could, with a little effort, jump into that.
Yeah, well, maybe they're right at the cusp. Maybe they're like
absolutely
$8.99 in sales or something, and they're like, their goal is to get to 1 million, right?
Exactly.
And one of the things that, and by the way, I've got a link up that I'm going to share later today. I'm teaching a class in Long Beach about getting to the next level. And to me, it's all about goals are great. But if, like, for example, if your goal is to get to $1 million, well, what happens when you get to $1 million, right? So it's great to achieve that goal. What's better is to invent the process that allows you to grow and scale and be looking out and actually having the action points that help you scale with success, right? And not like you get to $1 million in sales and then you fail because you don't have the infrastructure to support it, right?
Right.
Hey, we got some great comments, so let's get those in. And so Peter says, we're at Whataburger, remember? And then Frank says, Whataburger is not the same company since it was bought out. Sorry, guys, from a Texan where Whataburger started. So some Whataburger controversy here.
That's disappointing. I've ate at Whataburger. There's not any in Michigan, and they're pretty nice.
Hurley says, thank you again, for Alan, for the 722 sample. We saved a total of 13 screens.
You're so welcome. So just so what people are talking about is Chris, does a lot of silicone, and silicone's a tough one to sometimes work out. So him and I we're talking about it. I sent him some product up, 842 and 722, which is a product of ours designed just for silicone. 842 for a save screen, a color change, he said, just incredible.
Yeah.
But then he had some screens, like about 15 of them, that the silicone ink was done printing. He had not cleaned the screens and it had dried in.
Mm-hmm.
And so 722 would be our screen wash. And he said he applied it and the ink started just coming off right away, and took a pressure washer to it. Not a problem.
Right.
So he saved screens, and and so he's posted some pictures for us. I've already reshared them and tagged Easyway on Instagram, and thank you very much, Chris.
Yeah.
So everybody knows us for Super and 720 or 701 and 842, but we do have products that are a little smaller market, like 722 for silicone. So yeah.
So all right, and Peter says Cincinnati Skyline chili rules.
I agree. I lived in Cincinnati. I worked for a company in Cincinnati for almost 10 years, and then lived there for a few years. There's a lot of chili parlors around, between Skyline and
that's where they get the chili with a spaghetti, right?
Absolutely. And so
that seems really gross to me.
No, it's incredible. It is. When I interviewed with J Products in 1987, chili to me was chili like up here. It was on conies and stuff up here. So when I interviewed, this is suit and tie day. They said, well, let's go to lunch. We'll go to the chili parlor. And I'm like, I was not a big chili fan. And it's on spaghetti. And the joke was that they hired me because I ate it without getting any on me.
Oh, I see. So
you didn't like borderline impossible.
You didn't stick your face into the bowl and eat,
and nothing got on the tie and stuff like that. They thought that was incredible.
Ray says, great information. I think that's pretty close, even though the sample size may or may not be perfect. My question is what types, formats, genre of printing you find in each cross section. We'll get to that in a minute.
Yep.
Jesse agrees Whataburger is not what it used to be. And then John says Colorado Pueblo green chili is the only real chili.
You know what? I have never had that. So, John, bring some to Long Beach.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then pasta is great even with Texas chili. Cincy chili is good, different than the classic Texas, Oklahoma chili.
Cincinnati chili is like it's a Greek style chili, is where it came from. It's similar to the chili we have up here for Coney's in Michigan. And the Coney dogs, everybody asks me, what are the Coney dogs? Do I like them better than the ones in Michigan I grew up with or the ones in Skyline? They're just different.
Yeah.
So,
well, let's not go down that rabbit hole about the hot dogs now. So like, hold on. So let's look at the next graph. And of course, even though this is usually graphs represent 100%, the top obviously doesn't because you can just look at the numbers and tell. But it's very interesting here. And I'm looking at this, and unless I'm missing it, what's missing is DTF. So you got manual screen printing, automatic screen printing, DTF is direct to film transfer. That's the purple. That's 23%.
okay.
So that was, I just skipped over that when I was reading it. So then you got desktop die sub, wide format die sub, wide format direct to fabric, inkjet, embroidery, vinyl cutter, and print to cut media. Okay. By far, what everybody has is manual screen printing. That's 60%. The next biggest number is orange, which is automatic screen printing at 55%. So just over half of the shops interviewed have an auto. DTG is 24% and direct to film transfer is 23%. So that's almost tied.
I think interesting too is if you look where wide format and embroidery is.
Yeah. So
the greens,
wide
and that
format was 5%. And then embroidery is 44%.
What's the dark green one?
The dark green one is vinyl cutter.
Okay, so vinyl cutter and embroidery, those go hand in hand with most screen printing shops have them. So I'm not surprised by that.
Yeah.
And I love the diversification of people hitting new markets and servicing their customers with products.
So think about this. A lot of businesses grow new revenue by adding new innovation, right?
Yeah.
So in your market, if your market is saturated with screen printing or embroidering, what if you did something different, right? If you were, for example, the black is print and cut media, wide format solvent, eco solvent, right? Or if you were to do wide format die sub, right? That's only 5%, which is the dark blue there, right? If you were to add that to your lineup, you would instantly be different than everybody else in your area. So that might be a positive thing for you. It's just something to think about, right? Is if everything's saturated with everything's the same and you do something that's different, maybe that allows you to differentiate your business and stand out in a crowded marketplace.
Very much. At least they need to look at, Marshall, I would think, of having a partner that they can contract die sub to.
Well, that's what I always advise. If you're getting into a new decoration method, find a contractor, grow your sales.
Yep.
And you learn the language, you learn how it works, you learn all that stuff, you learn the mistakes before you spend a chunk of money on some piece of equipment. Right. That's always the best thing to do. And that way you know what's going on. I can't tell you how many people bought a DTG printer or buy DTF and then they don't have sales for it. And it's basically a very expensive paperweight.
Yep, absolutely.
Because they don't build the sales first before they do it, right?
Yep.
So,
agreed.
All right. So the graph underneath is percent of total annual revenue from outsourced work. So this is you contracting stuff out. The highest number, of course, is 10%, which is less than 10%, which is 38% of the market. Orange is 10 to 19, which is 27. 24% say they do 20 to 29. 11% do 30% or more.
See,
So
I wish.
a small section are contracting out more than 30% of their work.
Right.
And I think this is kind of interesting because who they're asked to take the survey are apparel decorators, not, for example, people in the promo world who contract everything out.
Yeah.
You know, so this is reflective of the people who took the survey, you know, that because everybody has equipment, we're doing stuff. We don't really contract stuff out unless it's a really big order or something that maybe we don't handle, like embroidery, right?
Yep.
So that's very interesting. What do you think about that?
Well, and I think this shows, I wish the numbers in the red on the percentage that contract out, we're saying the same thing over and over, and it rings true. I wish people would look at contracting out more. You don't always have to bring it in, but you can have the offering there, whether it be DTF, whether it be embroidery, whether it be dye sub. You just have to link up with the partners to do it.
Yeah.
And this is easy, soft money. You know, take the order, you run the paperwork, and the job is done. Now, it takes some time to scale that partner and to find them and build that relationship. But yeah, we see it work all the time. And I don't think decorators take advantage of that as much. They do on the print side, I think, when there's a job it's always a job that's so big they don't want to jam up their other presses.
Yeah.
But a lot of times it's jobs going, you know what? I know some shops that some of their real high-end work, they'll just send that out because we can run, 4 or 5.
Well, here's the thing that I think everybody needs to understand is, including overhead, what is your cost per impression?
Yep.
How much does it cost you to embroider that shirt or to screen print that shirt or to DTG that shirt or whatever? Not just the markup on the goods and how much your ink costs and stuff. The total cost per impression, what is that?
Yeah.
Okay. So, for example, if you spent, it just is easy discussion math, if you do 1,000 things and you spend $1,000, your cost per impression is $1.
Yep.
Okay. So, so if you looked at your own, what you do in your shop, what does it cost you to run that on average versus if I send that work out, could I do it cheaper? Right. That's the thing that I think everybody really needs to look at and just educate themselves on. Right. We've got some good comments. And by the way, I'm just going to skip over the food discussion because that's really bogged down. So thanks for those comments. They're hilarious and I appreciate them. But let's get to what we're really talking about here.
Yeah.
So Ray says the second graph is helpful. Wondering how many also print plastic, glass, metal, promo objects, and light graphic specialty along with textile, also pad printing. I don't know if that was included in the survey, so I can't comment. Peter says scaling a garment decorating business for growth requires the owner to get out of the day-to-day grind and being in the business and put systems, processes, and personnel to enable them to focus on their time working on the business. Amen, Peter. That's
Agreed.
how I help people all day with that. So I totally agree with that.
100%.
Ray says outsourcing is a double-edged sword. Agree with Alan, but when demand and quality expectation reaches a certain point, can you control quality, quantity, cost, and delivery over time? It can kill a business if it cannot be controlled. Of course, this is all about finding the right partner.
Well, and I'm going to agree with Ray. I'm going to point something out. Agree with Alan, but always means forget everything else I just said. But when demand and quality. So I do agree with Ray on that. That's why I said you have to know your partners. You gotta vet them out. What kind of onboarding do they have? And you have to be in control of that too. Well, it's just not find somebody to do it.
My entire career was running contract printing companies. So that's what I know. And so Davis says, we're looking at contracting out more of our less profitable work. Yes, we make a little less, but it opens up so much more time to do the more profitable jobs. Exactly.
Agreed. 100%.
Sean's here from Alpharetta. Happy
Hey,
Friday.
Sean.
And then, okay, we're not going to get into
More
that.
food.
Right. So, all right. So we have other things to discuss. So we're just going to go. What was the other thing we wanted to talk about? Right?
Well, some of these, the one thing you and I were talking about, some of these graphs where they're talking about uptimes and costs and stuff like that. We're wondering how they came up with these numbers, because in our world, everybody we talk to, nobody knows these numbers.
Yeah. So like, budgetly hourly rate used for print estimating, blah, blah, blah. Like I've talked to 1 billion people and they don't ever do this. So maybe here's a multiple choice survey. Let's click this. Right. So I don't know how accurate some of these things are, just because of our, not saying everybody doesn't know this stuff, because some people do, but I've had plenty of conversations where people don't even know their net profit.
Exactly. Those graphs there don't feel as correct, because I'm going, nobody knows.
So here's the graph I wanted to talk about, and this will be the last one. But please go and look at the survey and compare it to how you run things. Okay.
Yep. Do we
and
have?
If you actually took this survey, it'd be interesting to see your answers compared to the, the total.
Absolutely. Do we have the link up for that survey?
I'm sorry.
Do we have the link up for Screenprint magazine?
Yeah, well, it's I don't know if you can micro see it. It's screenprintingmag.com.
Okay.
Then the headline is results revealed for 2022 apparel decorator survey.
Cool.
So I can post the link, but it's going to be a gazillion.
Nope, that's all right.
All right. So this top one is what I want to talk about, which is business impact of labor shortages. Okay. So 44% say no impact.
Huh.
9% say we have had employees resign. 44% say we've had difficulty hiring skilled labor. And then 4% say we have had no difficulty hiring skilled labor. So 4% say no difficulty, but 44% say staff's the same. So basically that's 48%, almost half. The labor shortages don't affect them at all. Okay. Huh. So if you look at the other half, you've got, they've had problems. So let's look at this, look at it this way. Half of the industry's got problems. The other half of the industry doesn't.
What is the difference? What are they doing?
Yeah. So what are the people doing that don't have it? And I'm going to argue they've got a great culture. That's my argument. If you've got a great culture, your employees don't leave. And if you've got a great culture, they'll flock to run to you.
Yep.
Okay. So my question out there posing to everybody that's watching is, does this ring true to you? And do you have a culture where people want to come work for you? They're coming into your lobby saying, hey, I'm a printer. I've heard about you. I want to work for you. Does that happen?
I wonder too that they're not losing people, or it's not affecting them as much because they have done the work. They have automated where they can, and they're always researching and redoing their processes.
Yeah. Right.
I don't think that's as big, but I'm wondering how many people that has been a part of also.
Yeah, right.
Because I know we have seen on the machine side upticks in, even through COVID, the machines that we're selling were things that we're automating. Automatic presses still.
Well, we're automating because we want to have less people to do the things.
Yep. Auto coders, direct to screens, auto reclaims were all hot tickets, and they still are. Yeah.
All right. Some great comments from Ray. And not knowing accurate numbers in the shop is what we as consultants are always harping on, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yes. And then his next comment is, this is exactly what I'm seeing in my sector. Roughly 50% are having staffing issues. I observe that it's less about culture than workload and degree of difficulty. Oh, interesting.
Okay, cool.
Okay, so so what are you saying is that the businesses that have a more complex work are having problems finding people, and this people that do really simple things don't have a problem? Is that what you're asserting?
Well, and we have to remember what Ray's saying in his.
No, I know what Ray does. I'm just
Yeah.
wondering if that's what he's saying. So
Right.
Okay. So anyway, wrapping this up, please check out the survey. I think it was really great that they did this. Here you go. He answered me. So yes, and more precisely, shops that have more rules and require higher in-house training are having a harder time. Okay. But we need more rules and we need more training.
Absolutely.
So, interesting. And Sean says, I believe the labor issue is also affected regional. Yes.
I agree.
Yeah. And I know that some of my clients that are more rural, they're not in a bigger area, a bigger city, always have challenges finding people. And the folks that live in like a big city like Dallas or wherever,
Chicago, yeah,
they never have issues, right? They can get people because, in their area, there's 100 jobs.
Yeah.
Right? So, and Ray says, read between the lines, applicants seem lazier, just my opinion.
Yep.
Right. Okay. All right. So anyway, that's that survey. Please check it out. And huge shout out to Screenprinting Magazine and for them for doing that. Interesting that Johnny Shell helped them do that. And also interesting, just throwing this out a little barb, it wasn't who he used to work for.
That's right. Yeah, exactly. And you know what? This seemed more accurate than, say, something out of Printing United.
Well, maybe they need to do it. I don't know. I don't know if they've done one. I haven't seen it. I don't know. I knew that they do their wage forecast. I believe the last time they did the wage one was 2019.
Yeah, and I just don't know wherever on any survey where they get their numbers at. It's always been wonky, even during the SGI days, I felt.
Well, it's you can't make people take the survey, right?
No, you can't.
So it's really, surveys are hard to do, and the more questions you have, the less people take them. So I don't know. So anyway, a big shout out to Screenprinting anyway for you doing this. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely.
And I think the results are interesting. And then so to me, if you look at that, my suggestion is just compare to your area and see if this rings true to you and what takeaways can you take from it. So
yeah. And you know what? Just a little shout out to Screenprinting Magazine. If you're not reading it, Adrian Palmer's doing a great job there. Andy McDougall's writing incredible articles and really just pushing the envelope in a lot of ways. So
yeah, and by the way, I have a column in that magazine also.
And Marshall has a column in that. I never read that.
My current one is about 40 tips on being more sustainable.
Yeah, I actually don't read anything of Marshall's columns because I have enough of Marshall in my life. No,
yeah. I mean, will that guy just shut up? What's up with him?
Yeah, really.
So, all right, and Ray says same thing. Thank you, Screenprint Mag and Johnny Show.
Yep.
We should have Johnny on the show.
We should have Johnny on the show.
Measure the time you pay for your company to produce a job compared to how much you pay to contract the work. Choose the method with the most return. Exactly. So I was talking about this with one of my coaching clients the other day, and I said, "Hey, when you introduce yourself, what do you say?" He's like, "Well, yeah, I say I'm a printer." I go, "Oh, you don't say you're a small business owner, or you don't say you're an entrepreneur?" So when you're looking through everything as the lens of a printer, then everything has to be printed. If you look at yourself as a business owner, and now everything is looking at through the lens of profit. Yep. So think about the labels that you give to yourself And how does that affect or color the decisions that you make about things? Just something to think about.
Yep.
Peter's seconds, I guess that's about our comment about Printing United. Automation is not always about cutting the number of employees. I'm seeing more and more shop owners wanting to automate the yucky jobs to improve the work environment for the employees. Exactly.
100%.
Screen reclaim and ink mixing and all that, right?
Yeah, auto reclaim, coding, everything like that. It can get done faster, cleaner, and the employees are more valuable because they're going somewhere else.
Yeah, well, when you can have a couple machines and one person can run all 3 or 4 of them, and you don't have to have a couple people. And by the way, in the screen room, nobody likes to do that because who wants to do dishes all day, right?
Yep.
So, not me.
I have seen more shops that have an auto. I saw that. It's only funny if Andy McDougall's actually watching and reading.
I don't know. Andy McDougall's a pretty funny guy, and
he's hilarious. Well, him and Ray go back and forth on each other all the time just because they're friends. So,
right.
Yeah.
Now I can't think of what I wanted to say.
What I was saying is back to what Peter said and you said about one person. I've seen many shops where they have an autocoder, a direct-to-screen unit, and exposing system in their coding screens, their imaging screens, and their exposing screens. One guy just in a circle doing it.
Yeah. All right. So this is a really good segue, I think, into our next topic, which is what are you doing right now to get 1% better?
Yeah.
With Long Beach coming up and it's a new year and all of that stuff, like this is the perfect opportunity, I think, right now in going into this survey, right? What are you doing to get better in everything you do? This is better about your sales, better about your production, how you handle your employees, whatever, it doesn't matter, right? Yep. What are you doing every single day to add a little bit of something different to the mix? So by the end of this year, 2023, you're miles ahead of where you are now.
Well, you're outside of that 100,000 to $1 million. You're now into the $1 million to 4.9. That's how you do it. Getting 1% better in all areas, all the time. I saw a post this morning from our friend Tom Rowan at 1-800 T-shirts.
Tom who? I don't know who that is.
You've met him before. You'll know the face if you saw him. Tom's in Dubuque, Iowa. Talk about a rural area, and Tom just crushes it. He is a master at marketing. And
let me tell you how difficult it is to get to Dubuque, Iowa. They don't really have airplanes that land there anymore.
Well, yeah, it's a great place to be away from. No, I don't know. I've never been there, but I have to go there soon. But you know what? Here's what Tom does. We know what Tom does well. He just did a post on what he does, and it basically was him saying, here's what we're doing at 1-800, and it's a picture of his shop. He's starting to automate. He's bought some stuff, and he just lays it out to his clients going, we are trying to be 1% better every day in all areas. And in our technology, we are increasing with that. And he talks about his failures that they've had in production and just says, you know what, in the future, we would love for another chance. I thought that was incredible. But Tom is a guy who recognizes what he does well and also recognizes what he doesn't do so well. Really? And trying to get 1% better all the time.
Right.
And I know you talked to him. I've talked to him. And so that's the question. What are you doing? Tom's a guy that he's very low key, very monotone, has it together. But you know what? Everybody has things that they need to work on. And
I think what Tom does really well is not working, if he can help it, in things. Yeah, we've all seen him running his press.
Yep.
And that's just because he's got work to do and he's missing people because, whatever. And I know from talking with him, he's working on that. Okay.
Yep.
But, he spends a lot of time away from the office, attending classes, talking with people, meeting with customers, whatever. I can't tell you how many times when I talk to Tom, I go, "Hey, where are you?" And he's like, "Oh, I'm in Florida," or whatever.
He was just in Florida. He was just in Minneapolis. So yeah.
So, all right, some good comments here. Ray says, I totally agree with Peter. Also, automation is the rule, not the accessory upgrade in the industrial side. It's a combination of simplifying and profitability. Love this.
Yep.
In this industry, I don't know if, I think it's pretty well known, but maybe sometimes it needs to be talked about more. We're an industry that we need to control variables.
Yep.
So when your guy is coding screens, right, just a slight tilt of the hand or a little less or a little more pressure completely changes how that screen is coded. When you have a machine do it, it's whatever how you set it up. It's exactly the same every time.
You know what? There's less variables to control, but there still are. So I don't ever want to give the impression that when we say automated coding, auto reclaim, everything like that, I never want to give the George Jetson scenario that it's push a button, worst screen in the world comes out brand new roller frame at 50 newtons. Same thing with coding. You still have to, on an auto coder, you can set the parameters, you can set it, and that's going to do it over and over the same way. What you have to do with auto coders, you have to make sure that the emulsion is filled in the trough, because the less emulsion you have, you're going to have less fluid dynamics of pressure there, and you can affect your coats.
Yeah,
so
but
you still always have to have SOPs.
You're still going to get a more consistent coat than Fred doing it.
Absolutely.
So, that's the point, right? And that's the same on auto printer. That's the same as anything, right?
Yep,
so,
absolutely.
All right, so great comment. Daryl says, General Hal Moore always trained officers one rank above, so the officer could train one rank below. This way, the officer could teach what they needed to learn. That's great. Fantastic movie. If you haven't seen it, with Mel Gibson about him, he was the guy that really pretty much invented the helicopter cavalry kind of deal in Vietnam. All right. So what's the name of that movie? It's whatever. You know that one.
with Mel Gibson and
that one, right? And
I just watched it a few weeks ago.
Yeah. So it's a pretty gruesome movie. Anyway, so that's who that was.
Marshall. So it's We Are Soldiers.
We Are Soldiers, exactly.
Yep.
And I read the book too, so I don't know why I couldn't remember that. All right.
I read the book.
Sean says, listening to you two. Thanks for the compliment, Sean. Appreciate it. Peter says, Tom Brown, is he the mayor of the Mac and Cheese Festival in Iowa? Yes, he is.
He is. He is and talk about a guy that is always trying to do better 1%, not just in his company, for his community and stuff. Tom is a very philanthropic guy too.
Yeah.
And that's what that's all about. So
that's all about raising money for the juvenile diabetes.
Yep, absolutely.
Aaron says, great show, guys. Thanks, Aaron.
Way to go, Aaron. Thank you.
And Brian says, we were soldiers. Thank you. We appreciate that. And anyway, so what are you doing 1% better? Hey, we needed to run our GSG commercial. So before we run out of time.
All right.
So let me cue that up. So today, what am I missing here?
Well, we don't have a pulse because they haven't brought out the new quarter one. So we got to pick a product.
Yeah. So we picked. Why did we pick this?
We picked this because you and I had a call earlier this week with our buddy Dave Dennings, who's the product manager of Kiwo.
Yeah,
and
thanks.
You're in a video call, and just in honor of Dave, let's pick Kiwo Polycol Multi-Text Emulsion. This is available at GSG. I'm a big fan of Polycol Multi-Text. It's usually just called Kiwo Multi-Text. It's available in red or blue. It has great resolution. It's good exposing, whether you're using a laser or an LED or a metal halide. It has some water resistance when post-exposing, and just a great emulsion.
What is the difference between the color? I never understood that.
You know what? Sometimes some people like the color because of being able how it registers. They can see through. Some like it, and it's weird because a lot of people say the red you can see through it and register better. Other people like the darker blue because of registration. Because I like a darker one because I can see the black lines of my image when it's registering.
Oh, okay.
It's just different.
So it has no bearing on the exposure at all. It's just really
somebody who worked in the emulsion company, minimal, not even negligible on it. Reds tend to expose a tiny hairline faster, but yeah, so not. But they do have it for that. And sometimes people, especially if they're using the same emulsion, the hard part was if they were doing, say, almost all plastisol, but they had water base or discharge screens, and you can keep them separated. Right. Discharge screens in blue, everything else in red.
Right. Good.
Same emulsion, no variables. So I'm a big fan of Kiwo Multitext. It is a great all-around emulsion. Yeah, that's the Allen Al plug.
Yeah, so you can go to gogsg.com and just in the search bar type in Multitext, and this comes up. You can buy this in gallon or 55-gallon drums, either color.
Yep.
Knock yourself out. So
yep, it's been around for a while. Not a huge long time, but been a great emulsion for them.
Yeah. All right. So our next topic is all about pricing. And I believe because it's the beginning of the year, you're going to be seeing some price increase from your suppliers.
Yep.
Which means the cost of poker is probably going to go up, right? And do you know what it actually costs you to do things? So you're keeping everything going in alignment for the profit that you're trying to make. And I know a lot of people just, we'll just do it 10% and there we go, right? But what if your price increase is 12%? Now you're losing 2%. So you really need to be looking at what it costs you to do stuff and then thinking about things, right? So what do you see or hear from, I know you're in the supplier area here, Alan. So what do you know?
Well, I've been telling my clients too, there will be a price increase on equipment. We're expecting one on products. We're not expecting a huge one, but that can change. I don't know when, but it is coming. And to think it's not coming from anyone else, don't fool yourself. Be ready. From garments, from everything. You need to be ready. You need to start changing your pricing right now and getting ready. You know, it seems like every time there's a price increase, there's a group of people who they're just shocked and amazed. Mm-hmm. Don't be shocked and amazed. This is just part of it. Learn to deal with it. Let's go. Keep going.
And save your anger.
Yeah.
Right. Just like it's just part of business. Just like this is what we got to do. And I also will tell you that a lot of times just make your price increases and be quiet about it. You don't have to send an email out to the world.
Oh, exactly. Don't make it an ugly thing.
It's just a part of doing it. Right. So when American Airlines changes their pricing, they're not putting an email blast out going, hey, we raised the seat price. This is the price you got to pay if you want to fly to Boston. Right. They're so. Richard says we're kissing up to Dave.
Dave Dennings, so everybody knows, is the chairman of the academy. So it's a job he really wanted. No, he's been thrown in.
He didn't want it. And by the way, it was about some things we wanted to do for the academy. So it was about that. So
we'll be talking about it. So it's real good. Dave Dennings, I've known him for years as a product manager. I remember when he used to be with what is now CFAR, used to be called TEDCO. Great guy.
He is a great guy. Right.
So you want to know stencil and emulsion, he's a guy to talk to.
Richard says color affects transparency and contrast visibility. I always choose teal because it was the fastest.
Okay.
Dean says happy. He's really happy Friday dudes. Yes,
Yeah.
pricing is paramount. The numbers don't lie.
Absolutely.
Orange colored emulsion simulates the yellow gold mesh, preventing undercutting. Light scatter and allows you to use more economically priced white mesh, in case you didn't know. Okay.
Well, you know what? And he's right on there. But the only problem is that most orange colored emulsions are real higher solids. And so it's always into it. It's always used on a lower mesh counts, which are white. And that does help. The orange colored emulsions I've seen, somehow there's something in it where they just reclaims different. And there's one.
What does that mean? Reclaims different.
It reclaims either grainy or not powdered off when fully exposed. So, like, especially in auto reclaims, it's the only time on one where I'll usually tell someone going, anybody's auto reclaim, you need to change that emulsion out. Don't do it. So I know when orange first came out, sold a bunch of it. It has great resolution, but I've always had a little bit of issues on how it reclaims. That's just my opinion.
Okay. Lastly, we wanted to talk about some things coming up. So Alan is going to be doing a Shirt Lab workshop for us.
Yep.
Screens or equipment workshop. That's going to be on 1/26. This is now an Eventbrite. There actually is a graphic. So I built this right before our show, and for some reason, the pretty picture isn't loading. So I'll get that figured out later, but you can sign up. It's going to be free. Reserve a spot. It's Thursday, January 26th because I'm in Phoenix, it's 1 to 2, but it's 3 o'clock Eastern. So wherever you're watching, you know what time it should be, right? So Alan, why don't you talk about, even though we haven't built the presentation yet, what will you be talking about?
I have no idea yet. This is all. You know what? So I have,
hey, thanks. Good job selling the workshop.
Absolutely. Here, Marshall, let me do this. Oh my gosh, he bought it, and now I got to put it together. No, this is something that is near and dear. If you've taken a seminar from me before, you've heard me say this. Screens are equipment. Nothing irritates me more than seeing a shop where screens are treated as a commodity, where they're treated like tissue paper or anything like that. And you know what? My thing is that press, that dryer, that direct to screen, or that direct to screen imager, that auto reclaim machine does not work without screens. I don't care how big of a press, what kind you have, and how good a print you have, that it does not go without screens. Screens are equipment. Treat them that way, take care of them, and they'll make you money, and they'll make you money and increase your production. Dismiss them as a commodity, and they will frustrate you to the day you leave this industry, and you'll leave the industry sooner. Yeah. So that being said, under that premise, I believe, and I have said this, I was at a shop just before Christmas in Chicago. They have about 8 automatics, and we were going through their screen room and stuff. And the guy that's doing it, I said, you know what? This is the most important room right here in the shop. The printers don't like to hear that because the printers have tangibles. Comes off the dryer and they say, see what I printed? And I always tell the screen guys, you need to say, you're welcome. Because without screens, that image doesn't get printed. And if your screens suck, it's the very first fundamental, foundational to the print process. So we're going to go over screens are equipment, but we're going to go over everything in the screen room that needs to be tightened up. First of the year, we want to go through what things are tightened up. I mentioned one of them there. If you've gone automated with coding on an auto coder, do you have parameters of when that trough gets filled on there? You want to keep these little things. We're going to talk about exposure and checking that and make sure. We're going to talk about tension, because if you have poor tension, you're going to have problems everything else on coding and stuff. I don't care how nice, excuse me, I don't care how nice of presses you have. I don't care what kind of emulsion you're using or what kind of light source. You can have the best laser system out there. You have poor tension on screens, you're going to have problems. And so this is not anything that you have to buy lots of equipment. These are going to be tightening up of fundamentals that every shop needs to hear and see and do. And sometimes you're probably doing them, but man, we haven't checked them out in a while. It's a great time to go do it.
Yeah, so this is going to be really good for shop owners, production managers, your screen room guy. Okay.
Yep.
Give them some time to watch this and get the education. That's what we want, is educated workers. Okay. So we're really going to go into some things, best practice, tips, tricks, that type of stuff.
Yep.
So it's completely free. Just sign up. That's all you got to do. Right.
I love being able to do this because I've worked for manufacturers of emulsion and mesh and stuff, but I'm not tied to anybody on that end. So I get to just talk about best practices.
Yeah.
Not caring what brand you use.
Okay, great. And so the next thing I kind of wanted to go through real quick is where's my cursor? Is Long Beach. I'm teaching 2 classes. I mentioned this earlier in the show. I've got one on Friday. There's a QR code right here. You can hopefully it'll work for you, but it's getting to the next level. That's going to be Friday at 1. Hope to see you there. And the next one is
And you know what, Marshall? We were just talking about that 1% better every day, getting to the next level right there.
Yeah. So it's going to be Friday at 1 o'clock. And then on Saturday at 10:45, which is the early morning slot, Davis Slagle and I are doing one on direct to film. And he has really mastered this. We're going to be talking about workflow. We're going to be talking about how to price. We're going to be talking about a lot of stuff. If you're interested in getting or mastering DTF, and we're completely unbiased, we're representing any companies or anything. There's the real skinny on what to do. This is going to be the class for you. You can register right here, just the QR code, and get signed up. And then we'll see you there, right? And
yep.
And then lastly, Shirt Lab is having a mastermind dinner Friday night starting at 6 o'clock. There's a limit to 20 seats. Currently, 17 have been purchased. So there's only 3 spots available, and we'd love to sell this out. So anyway, so you can do it. It's Friday at 6 o'clock. It's going to have open bar, appetizers, dinner, and a curated conversation. Last year's was incredible. It was probably one of the best of industry events I've ever attended. And it lasted till 1:30 in the morning. So it was great. And so I know that Richard's going to be there. Alan, you're going to be there.
I'm going to be
Kudre
there.
will be there. Charlie Tobley will be there. Josh Ellsworth to be there, plus a whole bunch of printers. Tom is there. Ali Banholzer's there. I'm there. So it's going to be a lot of really great stuff. So
Charlie coming too, I believe.
I'm sorry?
Charlie, is he coming?
He is coming. There's a rumor that Greg Kitson might come. He's trying to figure out his flights and stuff. So we'd love to see you guys there. There's only 3 spots. So don't snooze on this. This will probably sell out by like Monday or Tuesday next week. So just want to throw that out there. So
1:30 in the morning on California time. Wow. I'll be a vegetable by then.
Yeah, Frank, and here's a quote from what's my cursor today? Josh and Mark J debating about sales was very memorable. Yeah, it was
Josh Ellsworth and Mark Ray.
Yeah, it was great. It was great. And so we're gonna have a good time, and we're gonna have an industry curated discussion after dinner, which is what we did last year. And I'm not telling anybody what that is. I'm just gonna spring it on people. And it's going to be a good one. So I already have something in mind. So Anyway, Dean says I'll have to pass the info along on the Shirt Lab dinner. I'm sure it would be an enjoyable event. It is.
Yep.
Also, we've got some comments here I just want to make sure we get to. Ray says, yes, as Richard and Mark are noting, the color of the emulsion is a light spectrum filter. It really comes into play the most on weak or low UVA light source.
Correct.
Similar effects with the original Ruby mesh.
So most people don't know there was a time where mesh, you could get it in a ruby color, and that was mostly used in the graphics industry. I have only seen it once, and that was early in my career. Freaked me out when I saw it.
Yeah. Also, quick note: retentionable screen frames are capital equipment and not a consumable. Remember that when purchasing.
And you know what? I'm huge on high tension. I'm still a big fan of roller frames. And when people are asking me, I always leave it in them. Can you go to stretch and glue? Absolutely. Mm-hmm. Can you go to a Sherlock? Yes, you can. You know what? The question is how much control do you want over the uncontrollable? And if you want that control, then you invest in it as equipment, in the process, in the equipment, and the control. Mm-hmm. So, and from what I understand, stretch devices will be at Long Beach. It's been a while, so that'll be great.
Yeah. So really looking forward to that. And as a reminder, we will not be having our show that week.
Yep.
Alan and I are both just, to be honest about it, we're just got too much going on. So we're going to skip the week. But we'll have a fantastic recap after the show.
Definitely. Definitely.
Man, we hope to see everybody there. If you want to get tickets to the Screen Room Workshop or the Long Beach Mastermind Dinner, it's just Eventbrite. Just type in Shirt Lab in the search, so both of them will come up. And then I'll be posting the Screen Room Workshop on my social media as soon as I figure out why the pretty picture with Alan's face isn't showing up.
That's probably why.
Right. And here you go. And Richard says, stretch and glue, each screen is unique and different.
Yeah. So you know what? If people are, need to know anything about roller frames, two guys on here are the best in the business on it, and that would be Ray and Richard. Mm-hmm. So incredible. Yep. And you know what? Contrary to popular belief, I had a call this week. Someone said, we just don't hear a lot. Are roller frames just not used anymore? Not true. The people that are using them just don't need to talk about it because they're just busy.
Yeah, so there's a big corollary, I think, between really super profitable and great shops and how much they post on Facebook.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
I noticed that the people who don't ever post are the really super successful people. And the people who seem to have the answers to everything are the ones that sometimes are the most jacked up. So
exactly.
Very interesting. So,
yep.
All right. Well, hey, we're out of time. So thank you for watching. Really appreciate everyone. And if you got any questions or things, shoot us an email and be happy to help you. And until then, we'll talk to you next week. Actually, I won't be here. Thank you so much for Richard for filling in. I am moving next week, and so Richard's filling in for me. So as always, I appreciate him picking up my slack.
He picks it up for all of us.
Yeah. So what would we do without that guy? I don't know. So
have to do a show by yourself. That would not be good.
Yeah. All right. Well, hey, thanks everyone. And we'll check you next week. Have a fantastic weekend and we'll talk to you soon.
Bye-bye.